Hi everyone. So today we're going to do chicken soup. And it is a nice and delicious and hearty soup. Very flavorful. And what we start off with, obviously we wash our chicken. This is half a chicken. Okay. Here we have our celery, carrots, red peppers, green onions, garlic, and cilantro, and our pepper and salt. Okay, so in here it is, this was 3 small carrots, only because they weren't that big. If you have a big carrot, you can do 1 carrot or a carrot and a half. For the celery stalks, I do 2 to 3 celery stalks. This is 2 on this one, and about a bunch and a half of green onions. I use the other half of the green onions to top up you put on top of the soup while you before you serve it. It gives it also an little extra flavor, and it just tastes delightful. And then this is 1 whole red bell pepper and a half. You can also just, if you only have 1 red bell pepper on hand, that's fine. You can just use 1 red bell pepper. And then our cilantro, which we will also add before we start cooking it, and also add after on top as garnish. And we also have our garlic. Now our garlic, I went ahead and measured it. This is fresh garlic, but in case for people who like to use that bottled garlic, it's a tablespoon and 1 teaspoon of garlic. Okay, and that was 3 cloves of garlic, but that depends on the size of your clove. So if your clove is pretty big, that's what you're going to get. If your cloves are small, you might want to do 4 garlic cloves instead of 3. Okay. And what we also start off with is we'll do we'll do half a tablespoon of salt and half a teaspoon of pepper to start off with. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and fill up my water in my chicken pot over here. Now, make sure you don't fill it up too high, because once you put in the vegetables and then it starts boiling, it's going to get really, it'll start overflowing. And if it does overflow while you're cooking it, what you want to do is you want to lower the temperature, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and add this. Actually, I made a big boo-boo. Usually I add the vegetables before I add the water, so it's not splashing everywhere. Okay, so I have my bell peppers, my celery, my carrots, my onions, my green onions, all in our pot with our chicken and our water. Now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to add 1 teaspoon, actually, of black pepper. Okay. And that's how I start off with 1 teaspoon because it does actually, it's a lot. I think we're going to put in half a teaspoon. Okay, so that's half a teaspoon of black pepper. And I'm going to do 1/2 tablespoon of kosher salt. I'm going to go ahead and add the cilantro. As you can see, it is washed. And I placed my cilantro in a mason jar filled with water. And as long as the stems are actually touching the water, this can last for about a week in your refrigerator. So I put a little more than this, but I wanted to show you. So you just you take them off, pinch them off, because you don't want the stems in your soup. And then you're just you can either chop them on a chopping board, or you can just cut them up with your hands like that, and then sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. But if you're going to be doing that, please make sure your hands are clean, your nails are trimmed. You don't want any bacteria or anything in your soup, okay? There we go. All right, so now we pretty much have everything in our pot. That's what it looks like. Right, so now at the same time, before I start adding all my stuff to my pot, I always have another pot of water boiling to make the noodles. And you can use any noodles you like. So now we're going to go ahead and turn our chicken soup on. And we're going to start that off on medium heat. And you want to check it, okay? Because if it starts boiling over, then you can lower it, okay? And then you want to go ahead and cover it just like this. Okay. So you want to make sure it's almost fully covered, but not completely covered. Okay, there you go, just like that. You can see, just like that. There's a little opening on the corner. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my noodles also to cook, and don't forget to follow the time on your noodles. Okay. Always put a timer because you will forget about it. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and cook this for about an hour to an hour and 20 minutes, depending how small your chicken is cut. If you have a whole piece of chicken, it might take an hour and a half or an hour and 20 minutes. You just have to check it. Once the chicken is fully cooked, you know your soup is ready. But rule of thumb, to be honest with you, with my chicken soup is once it boils, I usually count it from an hour at that point. Okay. So over here, I have my noodles, and I went ahead and just placed them. So what you do with noodles is you boil your water first, and then you decide what noodle you want, and then you're going to follow the instructions on the side, okay? Today I ended up using Sprouts noodles, and as you can see, when you first put it in, doesn't look like it's boiling still, so you can put it just a little higher and just stir it a little bit though, because you don't want your noodles to get stuck. Okay, there you go. Now we're going to set the timer for 9 minutes, and it will be ready, and then we can drain it. Okay, so my timer went off for my noodles. So before you shut it off though, you always have to check, okay? Because especially you always want to do the lowest time it tells you at first, because it'll tell, like this one says 9 to 11 minutes. So always check it, and then you grab one and you try it. Don't burn your mouth. And that's perfect. So I find it with most of my pastas, the way I like it is it's 1 minute above the al dente. So if it says 9 minutes, I do 10 minutes. And let's not take too long. We got to drain this. Okay, now that I have strained my pasta, and if you don't have a strainer like this one, that's fine. I mean, obviously any strainer will work, but if you don't have a strainer at all, you can get the lid of your pot, and you're going to slowly drain it like this. Okay, you leave a little gap open. Just be careful, don't burn yourself, and you can strain your noodle that way. Now we're going to go ahead and put this aside, and I am going to cover it with the lid like that. Sometimes they do get stuck together, and if that does happen, once your chicken soup is ready, you can put some chicken soup on top and kind of mix it a little bit, and it'll go back to normal the way it is when you just first cooked it. Okay, here it is boiling. It is almost done. Okay, so I have about maybe another 25 minutes, and my chicken looks almost fully cooked. All right, so now that my soup is ready, I did want to show you about the noodles. You see how they get a little, they kind of clump together. They're okay. So what you can do here is we're going to go ahead and get some of the juice from the soup and just pour it over a little. And then it'll just make it a lot softer. Okay, just like that. All right. Now, as you can see, it starts moving a little more. And we're going to go ahead and put some noodles. Okay. And obviously, you put as much noodles as you like. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and put our chicken soup. Look at that. We have all of our delicious vegetables. And at the same time, I'm actually cooking some potatoes, and that also makes it a nice little hearty soup with your noodles, your chicken, and everything in between. Let's get a nice piece of the chicken in there. Okay, now you can also just cut up your chicken if you want, so that way it's not just pieces of, like the whole pieces of the chicken. You can pull out the chicken and shred it. All right, so I went ahead and added the garnishes. I added some extra green onions on top, a little bit of cilantro. I also like to add avocado slices, and once in a while, I'll add a little bit of mozzarella cheese or Monterey Jack cheese, and it just melts in there, and it's just so delightful. Well, I hope you enjoyed my video. Go ahead and try my recipe. It is delicious. You will not regret it. And remember, always made with love.